There's 62 million millionaires in the world today, and by the time I leave this stage in just about 20 minutes, 40 new millionaires will be minted. That means it's more than 500 times more rare to be a Bitcoin millionaire in dollar terms. The yardstick used to look like Shaquille O'Neal standing at 7 foot tall. But in reality, that yardstick now looks like me standing here at 5 foot 6 inches. After the last halving event, there's about 450 new Bitcoin mined every single day, and public companies alone are buying nearly 4 times that. And I see 4 distinct forces all going to one destination, all coming towards Bitcoin. I want to start today with a number, 62 million. There's 62 million millionaires in the world today, and by the time I leave this stage in just about 20 minutes, 40 new millionaires will be minted. Not because they did anything special, not because they added some sort of value to the world, but because they simply are just holding in a currency that's currently being debased. There could be 40 more, there could be a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depending on what AI stock is booming, what the Bitcoin price does. But this isn't some sort of hype math. This is exactly what the UBS, one of the largest banks in the world, has said. More than 3,000 millionaires per day are going to be minted for the rest of this decade. And back at one point in time, being a millionaire used to mean something. I remember in 1999, not to date myself at some point, but there was a show called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And one of the most viral clips before viral clips went out was a man who was sitting at the last question. He called his dad and said, "Hey, phone a friend. Dad, guess what? I'm about to be a millionaire." And the crowd erupted. Regis Philbin, who was the host, it was one of the more electric clips of that time. And back at that time, about 1 in every 1,200 people in the United States was a millionaire. And now it's just about 1 in every 150. And like I said, nothing has really changed. It's just that yardstick has been changing. The yardstick used to look like Shaquille O'Neal standing at 7 foot tall. But in reality, that yardstick now looks like me standing here at 5 foot 6 inches. So today, during this whole talk, I want you to change your mindset, because the new yardstick that I want you to use is 1,000,000 sats, because this cannot be debased. There's 21 million ever. Many of you sitting in this room know that. And you know that everybody has been measuring in the dollar, which keeps continually being debased. So you might be saying, okay, I like Bitcoin, but what is actually scarce, right? We've seen all of the different arguments for gold, a Picasso painting, real estate, diamonds. But none of them have actually been verifiably scarce like Bitcoin. And you know, as I know, and we've gone through all of this, right? The 21 million, the fixed supply. And you might be sitting here thinking, okay, 1,000,000 sats might not be too much. But when I got back into Bitcoin back in 2018, I thought the same exact thing. Bitcoin was sitting around $3,500 at that time. So I bought my first 1,000,000 sats because a friend that I trusted told me, hey, you should check out this Bitcoin thing. So I bought 1,000,000 sats, 1% of a full coin. Didn't seem like anything significant at that time, but then I started diving into the scarcity math of just what Bitcoin truly is. So remember that 60 million millionaire numbers that I told you earlier. If you look at it through a Bitcoin lens instead of a dollar lens, there's only about 120,000 wallets that hold $1 million worth of Bitcoin, not 1 million sats or anything else, just $1 million worth of Bitcoin. And that's 500 times more rare than actually being a millionaire. And I know, right? People can have more than one wallet. Institutions can be holding these. Exchanges can have wallets. But that strengthens the argument. That means it's more than 500 times more rare to be a Bitcoin millionaire in dollar terms than to be a dollar millionaire. And if you break down this scarcity math, right, the 21 million, 2.1 quadrillion sats, right, with the 8 billion people on Earth, that means about only 1 in every 3 to 4 people can actually be sat millionaires. Right? Everybody's allotted amount is just around 200,000 sats. And I think more people, as I'm going to line out here throughout this talk, are going to start to realize that exact same thing. And, when we sit here and are talking about Bitcoin, I'm really looking at the Bitcoin in cold storage, not the ETFs, not holding it on an exchange, actually holding the physical Bitcoin, because that's where you can really have that true scarce power, that undeniable, physical, real Bitcoin. And out of it right now, we have about 12.8 million wallets that have 1 million sats, and obviously compared to that 60 million millionaires that I talked about earlier. So we're sitting here at Bitcoin around $60,000, and I brought up how I bought 1 million sats at 35. You might be thinking, okay, Brandon, hey, am I too late? Well, I think the adoption cycle of technologies like Bitcoin comes through if you look at historically in 50-year cycles. So when Bitcoin was an infant, the first 10 years, that's really the retail cycle. That's what we saw, right? 2009 to 2020. Retail really came in. And the second decade, which we're in about right now, that's where you see institutions come in. We have Michael Saylor, who's going to come on stage at some point during this conference, Jack Mallers. All of these institutions, nearly 200 publicly traded companies, are now figuring this out and buying Bitcoin. And we have governments dipping their toe in slightly, but really not here yet. So, I'm more of an American sports guy, but I know we're in Europe, so we're about at halftime of a soccer or football match, as you guys call it, in this full development. And then in the last 2 decades, we'll start to see Bitcoin become a medium of exchange and a unit of account. And in today's talk, I really want you guys to start to think in that unit of account, so you could be 25, 30 years ahead of where I believe we're going. And why am I so passionate about Bitcoin, and many of you so passionate? Well, we see the total fixed supply getting swallowed up by a lot of these institutions. I just heard Tony come on right before me talk a little bit about how these institutions, once you sell your Bitcoin, a lot of these institutions are gobbling it up and not selling, right? We have Strategy, over 843,000. 21, Jack Mallers, 43,000. About 6% of that total supply is now locked up in institutional custody. And these guys aren't buying the million sats that I'm describing here to you today. They're sitting here and buying thousands of coins at a time. And the reality is that on a fixed supply asset, the supply just honestly cannot keep up. This epoch that started in 2024, after the last halving event, there's about 450 new Bitcoin mined every single day, and public companies alone are buying nearly 4 times that. Strategy is buying more Bitcoin every single day that is mined, and that's just one company doing that. Then we're starting to see nation states really start to figure this out, governments across the world. The United States, where I'm from, 328,000 Bitcoin. China, 190,000 Bitcoin. El Salvador is the only one that's actually buying these coins, though. So as we're seeing this start to develop, these nation states, haven't even really come in yet. They're just simply confiscating coins in your protection. So as we're diving in, and we'll focus a little bit more on Europe as well because we're out here, we're seeing a lot of central banks and governments here start to talk about it. So as I described in where we are right now, we are starting to see governments really dip their toe in. So I think in the next 4 to 5 years, we'll really start to see more governments actually start to buy. And then we have the great AI race. AI has been a big topic in the Bitcoin space as of late because many think that people have been moving their liquidity, selling their Bitcoin in order to go to these big AI IPOs. In reality, I think that AI is one of the more deflationary forces we've ever seen. It's going to make everybody a million times more efficient. And we're sitting here with a deflationary force in the most inflationary currency that we could possibly have, in fiat currency. But when you switch that lens and you bring it to more of a Bitcoin lens and you realize that AI agents, everything moving into this fast-paced world, they're going to need something that lives 24/7, 365 without any permission. So soon enough, you won't even need to tell your AI bot to use Bitcoin. It will just use it by choice. And then, when we look at how early we are compared to just global wealth, well, we've got Bitcoin at just literally less than 1%. It's a rounding error right now. We have global debt at $353 trillion. That's trillion with a T. Real estate, 330 trillion. Fixed income, 145 trillion. Equities, 110. Money supply, M2. And then gold even at 22,000. At the time I made these slides, who knows, it might be even larger at this point. And this is the chart that everybody has seen. A simple supply and demand chart. But the demand for becoming a sat millionaire is increasing by the day. Companies are scooping up coins and not selling. And the reality is, becoming a dollar millionaire, the demand of that is lower and lower because the value, the yardstick, the meter stick, whatever you guys want to use, is really just devaluing day by day. So then I see 4 distinct forces all going to one destination, all coming towards Bitcoin. We have the treasury companies buying more Bitcoin that are mined every single day. We have 13 governments now holding, and we're going to start to see an AI explosion. The agentic payments has been a big topic of a discussion in just this past 6 months. And then we have the global markets who will all want to move to some sort of hard currency like Bitcoin. So then we see this massive demand for Bitcoin, and it's truly the only fixed supply asset that we've ever seen. We've got gold that's been confiscated in Fort Knox. Donald Trump, the president, was talking about auditing Fort Knox. Reality is it takes 18 months to 2 years to actually audit that. It takes Bitcoin 10 minutes. We saw it with silver back in October of last year, shooting up 40% and up over 150% on a year, and the narrative was the supply was short. We've never truly seen a fixed supply asset like Bitcoin in our lifetime. So I want to bring you back to the number that I started this entire talk with. Because right about now, we've seen about 40 new millionaires being minted. We've seen AI booms, SpaceX IPOs, all of the headlines all over. The S&P 500 at all-time highs. But yet, consumer sentiment has seemingly never been lower. Everybody around the globe is feeling the pain, and they're looking for a way out. Many of you in this crowd are lucky enough to have found Bitcoin, or maybe you guys came here in order to find that answer and figure that out. I believe everybody, no matter the age, is really going to be searching for some sort of solution, some sort of dream, something to shoot for. We've seen a boom in trying to get rich very quick and get to that millionaire status, even though that millionaire status doesn't mean much anymore. So when we're sitting here today and for the rest of this conference, really looking at how this entire landscape is developing, you've got to start to think on how you are measuring your wealth. And the true yardstick, I believe, that everybody here is going to walk away with, not just because of me, but because of all of these other great speakers we've got here, is going to be Bitcoin. Because when you break it all down, we are still extremely early, right? There's 62 million millionaires in the world. There's roughly 48 million wallets that just have $1 worth of Bitcoin in cold storage. So even just getting off zero is a monumental achievement. And by the end of this conference, who knows? Another corporation could announce that they're going to be buying Bitcoin. Another government could be announcing that they are interested or trying to dip their toe in. By the day, there are more and more people that are going to start to figure this out. So I ask every one of you in this crowd here today to really take a step back. Look at how you are measuring your life. Look at how you are measuring your wealth. Look at what you're putting your time and energy towards. Because Bitcoin, the proof of work, is really what it is. You adding value to society will earn you more Bitcoin. You adding value to society will not necessarily earn you more dollars or more purchasing power because you're measuring in the wrong currency, right? You're measuring in the wrong denominator. So at the end of the day, we are still extremely early because Bitcoin is still young, less than 1% of all global wealth. And soon enough, more people are going to wake up to the fact that Bitcoin is inevitable. So I want to thank you guys for coming out tonight and really appreciate you guys for having me. I'm Brandon Keys from Green Candle. I'll be around. I hope to see you guys walking around. Thank you so much.